All right, hello everyone, and welcome to today's career conversation. My name is Linus Cackley, and I'm the program coordinator for Future Tech Careers. You can think of Future Tech Careers as kind of your own personalized career services department. We specifically support students studying computer science programs at GRCC and advanced manufacturing programs at GRCC. One of the many resources we offer are our career conversations, which you are sitting at right now. Our career conversations take one of two forms. They function as both career exposure events to help you understand more about the careers in the tech and advanced manufacturing industries, and they also function as skill building workshops, so opportunities for you to learn skills that will help you advance in your career. Today, we're hosting a skill building workshop with Jonnathan Resendiz, professor here at GRCC, and he's going to be walking you through an AI skill building workshop featuring Google Gemini's gems. So, Jonathan, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Linus. Thank you for having me. So this training, it's meant to be a workshop. So I'll be going back into the computer, and you'll be following along. You can follow along at home for the people that are online or people that are watching the recording later. I'll give a brief introduction of what you see here, which is like essentials AI skills. I'll do a little bit of an introduction of prompt engineering and why it's important. And then after that, we'll go ahead and talk about two different tools that we are having today. One of them is going to be a gem from Google Gemini. And I think I'm also going to show you the Notebook LM that I think is very useful as well for people that are at GRCC. Okay. Okay, so like I said, I'll give you an introduction of GEMS and Notebook LM. And I'm using these tools just because GRCC, these are the official tools that we have. We have not only our email is from Google, but this is the preferred way uh, to use AI here at GRCC just because of the information that you might have. You might want to keep it enclosed in Gemini. So you will be able to follow along if you have another preference. So if you have ChatGPT, you can use this as well. If you have Microsoft Copilot, you can do this as well in there. If you have Claude, you can do something similar to that. But today's presentation will just concentrate on that. But know that all the other tools have something very similar to that. And like I said, I'll give you a quick introduction of Notebook LM. My understanding is that students at GRCC might or might not be able to have access to Notebook LM. I'm not 100% sure. But if you, let's say that you go to Notebook LM and you don't have it in your Google account as a GRCC student or staff, I know staff for sure has it because I use it. But if you're a student and you don't have it, then you can use your open account from Google and you'll be able to use that as well. Okay, so like I said, before we start, I really want to give you kind of like a brief introduction of where we are, I guess, in AI 2026 March. I'll give you an idea of a recent study that came out. I think this is very useful to kind of like see where things are. This study came out just a couple of weeks ago. So I think it came out March 15, 2026. And the study was conducted by KPMG and the University of Texas at Austin. And what they basically did is they review prompts from 2,500 employees. And there were 1.4 million prompts that they reviewed, that they analyzed over a period of 8 months. And what they found was very interesting, which is I used to have a slide here when I used to do AI presentations that I will say, please don't use AI as Google, as if you were Googling something. And I always kind of like knew how many people were doing that. I will always ask people, raise your hand if you think of AI this way. But I mean, this is a shocking study, right? That even as of last week, the study was 8 months long, but let's say the end of 2025, even as late of that, only 5% of those 2,500 employees were what they call sophisticated users or advanced users of AI, meaning that they will use AI to be kind of like a companion or like a extra helper, like using AI, let's say, to the full set of capabilities. Only 5% of the people were doing that. And the rest of them were using them in a very, I guess, like typical ineffective way, which is like kind of like Google and stuff, meaning that they will ask, they will use one of these AI tools, they will ask a question, and then they will stop. Like it will be like a one shot, we call it a one shot prompt. And then as soon as they will get something, that's it. They will just take it, and then they will not ask um, for corrections. They will not ask for feedback. They will not try to validate the information. They will just do a one-shot prompt, and then they will stop. The majority of them did that. And really, I think that is the big difference how we're seeing right now people are using AI. So it really didn't matter how often they used it. The key difference is how they used it. So the idea is, what do strong AI users do differently? So what does that 5% do? So the first thing they do is they treat AI like a reasoning partner. That is the first thing that you're going to see, which is meaning that you will be able to talk back and forth with a AI system. You'll be able to iterate with them instead of just stopping after you get that one shot. You will provide the system like context, goals, direction. That will be the next thing that you'll probably do. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be able to provide those contexts and goals. And you'll use AI for complex thinking, not just simple lookup information. And that is the biggest difference, I think, for me when I use AI. And they will have the AI guide the process through instead of just waiting for the perfect answer or getting that first perfect answer. And I think if you put all of these strategies together, you will be able to get a good sense of your AI usage. I actually, what you could probably do. So I read the study, and then I went to my to the one that I use the most, and then I said, could you go through the history of the conversations that we had, and based on this study, tell me where would I lie in this continuum of users. And yeah, he was able to tell me you are probably like, I think he put me like an 80% ish of the people. So, and not only that, but then he told me if you want to use it like the article or like the study describes it, here are the things that you should probably do. And he was asking me to do a couple more iterations or asking for counterpoints or really challenging my assumptions. And I think that's what I needed just to keep growing. But I think you can do that right now with the system that you use the most. You can say, okay, based on this study that I just found, could you tell me where would I lie in this continuum and tell me things to improve? That conversation itself is kind of like what they were asking you to do, right? For you to use it as a thinking partner, for you to use it as a way to understand where you're going with your usage of AI. Okay, so that's basically kind of like an introduction that I wanted to provide to you. And I think what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about how to make gems. So I want to start by giving you an overview of what prompt engineering is, and then we'll jump into the gem. So prompt engineering basically is how you effectively use LLMs like ChatGPT or Gemini in order for you to get information from them. And we're going to talk about a framework that we call the RTFC framework, and you'll see in a little bit what that's about. And the idea is, again, that all of us jump on Gemini and we start building a gem together. Well, you'll do one and I'll do one for myself. And that is usually what is called a custom chatbot. So we're going to build that today. Again, those are free for everybody to use. You should be, again, if you're using AI a lot, you should be able to have a lot of these custom bots based on different things that you do. Because if you're just going to the tool and starting from scratch, that takes a lot of work to work on that prompt. So the prompt is basically like the interface that you have with the model. And if you are starting from the beginning uh, through that prompt, then you're not gonna be very effective or efficient using the tools. I have around when you see my screen, you'll probably only see 2 or 3 because I use another system. I have a preference for another system, but I think I have around probably 30 tools, 30 of those bots that I have built in the last 2 years. That's where I will start with. Like I'll get a bot that I have trained, and that's where I will start from. Usually when I'm interacting. And again, the goal will be for us to customize the bot. It will remember key information, documents, and it'll give us responses based on what we are talking about. So um, I think before we get into kind of like the fundamentals, I want to fast forward to the tool, and then we'll go back to this portion. I probably should have just put 2 of them in here. But okay, we're going to start building it. And then we're going to go back, kind of like work backwards. And then we're going to use the RTFC framework for it. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to go to Gemini. Like I said, Gemini is free for all of you. So you'll see that this is your Gemini prompt. And you'll have like conversations that you have here on the left. If you want to start a new chat, you can click on that. And in order for you to make a gem, you'll go to the gem area, and then you'll click on new gem. That will give you this interface where you're going to be interacting and making that new gem. So again, I'm going to put a new chat. So if you want to make a gem, you will expand your menu over here. Then you'll go to gems, and then you'll go to new gems. So there are multiple ones that I think I made, and then there's other ones that people have made before. Well, you just click on here on new gem, and then you'll be in this area where you're going to be making one. Okay, so I'll walk you quickly through some of these areas. So you'll see that you'll have a place where you can put the name of the gem. You'll have a brief description, and then you'll have the instructions. So the instructions really is just that prompt that you will build. And then here on the right is going to be the preview of the interaction. So once you have this gem built, then you can reuse it and use it again and again based on what we have. So let's go ahead and let me go back to the presentation. Okay. See that? Okay. So I'm going to go quickly back to this prompt fundamentals part, and then we'll build one from the beginning. So when you are making instructions, you want to give these 4 things that we talked about, which is the first one is going to be the role. So you want to describe what it should be doing. Then you want to give it a task. So you want to specifically say, what is it that, and it's a little bit weird to think of it as a person, but just think of it as what this person will be doing if you were to have an assistant, and then the task that the assistant will be doing. So those are the 2 first things that you need to have. What is the person going to be, and then what is it going to be doing? Then you want to have the format. So do you want the format as a list? Do you want the format as an email response? Do you want the format as suggestions or as links or as whatever is the format that you want it to be? You have to describe it. And then you want to have, this is I think the most important part, you want to have constraints. You want to have rules on the tool, because you want to have making sure that it doesn't get away from what you can put in. I didn't put here the other thing that you want to have, but The last part of this puzzle will be for you to put in files. So this is the most important part because it will give a lot of context to the tool. Okay, so we're gonna do, right now I'm gonna give you one example, and then I'm gonna get some audience feedback and then see if we can get some examples from them. So this is one that I think any student here at GRCC should be making or could be making. And I'm gonna call this one the syllabus to schedule architect. This is like, think about it like when you are just starting your semester and then you have all of this syllabi from different professors, right? Telling you to do this or that. And some people have discussion posts, some people have projects, quizzes, midterms. So you take all of that syllabi and then put it in a gem and then tell it, okay, based on this calendar, I want you to help me schedule the things that I have to do, the activities that I have to do. And you can tell it, and by the way, please remember that I work on the weekends and I cannot do anything weekends. And then I also work Tuesday night. So make sure you don't put anything on Tuesday night. And remember that I have to uh, drive my brother and sister to school on Monday. So don't put anything there. And remember that I like to work from 12 to 3 Tuesdays and Wednesdays, whatever. So you give it all those instructions, and then it's going to start uh, analyzing all of those assignments, and then it's going to tell you, here's what you should be doing all of these days at this time based on the schedule, based on the assignments. And then you can give it more instructions, right? You can say, I'm really good, let's say, I'm really good at math, so I probably don't want to spend a lot of time doing math homework, but I really have a difficult time writing essays. So could you put a little bit more time on writing essays? So then it's gonna adjust all of that. So if you think about all of that prompt, all of those instructions are gonna get very complicated based on your profile. And then what you will do is you just have to set it up one time. Instead of writing that prompt every single time, you'll set it up, and then at the beginning of every semester, or you can do it for every month or every week, then you can be looking and checking what is it that you need to be working at the moment based on the assignments that you have. And this will be, I think, a really good prompt for a gem. So if you're at home and you want to build this gem, we'll do it together in just 1 second. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to skip this part, and I'm going to get a couple of examples. I'm going to do this. I already showed you one example, which is this one. And I'm going to ask the audience, maybe ask the audience online as well, Linus, if you can help me with that, to think of other examples that they could build at home. So I'll give you a little bit of time to think, people online. Try to come up with one that you think you could do today. And let's see if we have any.
We have one coming right now from Jeremy. House
Okay.
chores.
Okay. Could you ask him to elaborate maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, Jeremy, could you elaborate a little bit on what that gem, how it would help you with your house chores?
Okay, well, Jeremy is elaborating on that, and while other people are starting to think about other games to build, I'll show you a couple other examples that you could be working on or you could be building. But again, I want to remind you of what is it that you want to do. You want to think of this person as a human assistant, right? Somebody that has a lot of, it has a lot of knowledge, but it doesn't really have a lot of instructions on what to do. So you're kind of like building the instructions for that person. Think about it as having somebody really, really smart, but then not knowing you yet. So the only way that they can know you and help you is if you provide them some context of your life and the tasks that you want to do. So I'll give you another example. This one is called the Transfer Guru. So think of this when you are getting ready to transfer to a four-year university. So what you will do is maybe copy and paste all of the different, let's say you pick a major, and then you find different courses that are being offered, let's say at GVSU, MSU, U of M, and you put them all in one gem, and then you start building instructions for the gem. Tell them I'm pursuing this major. Right now is March 2026. I currently have taken these courses. I want to be able to finish this major at these universities. Tell me what are the courses that I should be taking next. And this is what I've taken. And based on GRCC's program, I have to complete these other classes. And then it should be able to start matching up the classes that you need to take next. Um, that's one more idea. And I'll give you one more, and then we'll go back to Jeremy and see if he elaborates on that. Okay, so the basic needs and grants navigator. So this one is there are sometimes a lot of resources, anything from local resources, but also scholarships or anything related to money that is accessible to community college students that often go unused. So what you could do is maybe you don't have the documentation, right? But you can ask the AI system to search for you different areas or resources that tailor on what you want. And then once you have all those resources, then you can then put them somewhere in a gem and tell it, okay, here are some of my needs that I have. Let's say that we were talking about this, Linus and I, about maybe you don't have a need for paying for school, let's say, because you're covered by Promise Zone, right? But you have maybe other different needs. And then if you search for those needs and then have a tool that is constantly searching for opportunities, you might be able to get that money for you on like a weekly basis, monthly basis, instead of you doing it every time. Linus, do we have any follow-up from Jeremy?
Yeah, so Jeremy said for house chores, using a gem to build a daily, weekly, monthly schedule. And then we also had another gem idea from John, using a gem to know when to plant seedlings inside based on Michigan's climate, whether it's tomatoes, herbs, etc.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think that is the other thing that the study found, that for that 5% of users, if we go back to the study that I showed you at the beginning, those high level users didn't do it just for work. They did it for other areas of their lives. And I'm glad that Jeremy and John both said this, because you can use this for other areas of your life that are not directly related to GRCC. And the more that you see how that could help you, or the more practice that you get using it, then the better you will get at building tools like this. Okay, and then I have one more that allows you to automatically answer emails based on your preferences. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do right now is we're going to build one. Okay, I'm trying to think which one I'm gonna pick. Let's go with, um, I think I'm gonna build this one, this first one, the syllabus to schedule architect. I think I have a couple of syllabus that we could find online, and then we'll just plug them in, and then we'll see how they work. But again, for those of you at home, you can do your own. You don't have to follow this one. So we'll go ahead and do the tool right now. So let me jump back in here. Okay, so I'm going to call this one. We said we're going to call it syllabus to schedule architect. And then the description will be takes syllabi and provides a schedule based on needs. Okay, and then here's where you will put the instructions. So The instructions, remember that you have to follow that framework that we talked about. So let me go back to this. And if you remember, the framework looks like this. So you have to give it a role, you have to give it a task, you have to give it a format, and then you have to give it some limitations. So if we come over here, I'm going to describe this and say, you are an expert scheduler. So that would be your role. And the next thing is you want to describe a task. So the task will be, of course, to do exactly this, right? So I'm just going to copy the description. And I'm going to put it here. You're an expert scheduler that takes syllabi and provides a schedule based on needs. I'm going to say my needs. Okay. And then the format. Let's say I'm going to say it. I want you to give me instructions for a 2-week period. Let's just not have it go all crazy. And here are the rules. The rules are going to be very important. And one of the rules that you want to say is make sure that you only follow the syllabi that I'm going to attach. That you only include information from the syllabi that I'm attaching. Okay. The reason you want to do that is because then you're going to limit where is it going to search for information, and it will only do it from that location. It will not go anywhere else and not try to guess. And that's the other thing that you want to say. Don't guess for information. Ask me if you have a question. So this goes back to the idea of this being a really smart person that still is trying to get to know you. But if that person doesn't, if you don't tell it to ask you, then what it's going to do is it's just going to make it up on its own, and it's going to try to guess to provide an answer. So the way that LLMs work, they just go by what is more likely to happen next. And if it sees that it's very likely that you will want something based on their models of probability, then they'll go for it. But if you tell it, hey, don't guess, ask me, then you're putting a restriction on it. Okay, so let me see if we can find.
As soon as we came out.
Let me see if we can find a sample syllabi from online. Okay. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna find. Okay. That's the catalog, but just trying to find. Okay, I'm gonna just pick this one. Let me see. I'm gonna pick another one. If I can find one. Let me find one first. This is not my computer, so I don't have syllabi from myself. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, so I am actually just making a fake one. I'm just making a fake syllabus here. Okay, it just wants me to do this. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna put it in my Gemini. Here's where you will do the knowledge. So in here, when you do the plus, then you can add either files from your drive or from files that you can upload. And I'm actually gonna see if I can find, I should have one, nope, from my drive. Let me see if I can have one from my drive. Syllabus, I'm gonna pick this one. Okay. And okay, so it's ready to go. I'm gonna save it. Actually, before I save it, you can interact with it here on this window. So then in here, you can then just ask questions like a regular person. So you can ask it, I just started this class. What should I be doing next? Okay, so this is telling me about setting up the environment. It's telling me about the assignments, how much they are. It's telling me about where the room is going to be. Yes, sure. It's asking me to do that, so I'm going to say yes. But plan my 2-week schedule. Okay, so here's the schedule. So here are the assignments. And then I'm gonna tell him, give me a more detailed schedule. Okay, so as you can tell, it's not 100% great, right? It's not doing such a good job. So here's what I'm going to do. It clearly is lacking in understanding where to go or what to do. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this description that I just built. I'm gonna copy this description. I'm gonna save this gem, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm done with this for right now. I'm gonna save it. I don't wanna chat with it right now. I'm gonna go back to a new chat. And what you can do is then you can ask Gemini to improve the prompt. So remember that this is also a tool to help you improve feedback that you give to the tool. So I'm gonna say, I want you to improve this prompt so that it's very efficient at what I want you to do, at what it's doing. So let's do that. So I'm going to say, I'm building this gem, and I want you to help me improve its prompt. And this is kind of like the interaction that we were describing at the beginning, right? If you want to become a higher user, then you have to be able to go through this iteration. So right now, this is going to be like the first iteration, and then we're going to see what it came up with, and then we're going to try to do another iteration for it to get a little bit better prompt, and then we'll test it again. So let's see what it said. Okay. Here we go. It's saying 0 hallucinations, but have the steps. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to say it. I want to make sure that it creates a realistic schedule based on my needs. Okay, so here's what it's saying. Before you create the schedule, ask me for the weekly capacity. Tell me how many hours are you working. Tell me like no-go dates. Tell me if you prefer to have a deep work session or a micro-learning session. And this improvement will allow you, as you interacting, to get better at it. So I'm going to ask it to show me the whole thing again. All right, so here is the thing. So it's going to ask you all of these questions to build that. So I'm going to now I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go back to my menu, and then you see here's the syllabus to schedule architect. Then you can edit that gem. So I'm going to go to edit, and then it's going to take me back to this. And I'm going to, instead of using this simple set of instructions, I'm going to paste the modified instructions that have more detail. Okay, and I'm going to say update it. Okay, I'm going to ask it, help me schedule. Okay, so you saw the instructions. It was, okay, I now want you to ask about your weekly capacity. How many hours that you work, your work zone. So I'm just going to say, I can do work on Thursdays, and I have 2 hours on Saturday. Let's see what it says. Okay, so now it's telling me, okay, for this workload, you're going to have 4.5 hours for 2 weeks. And it's going to tell me about the stress level. It tells me what I should be working based on that syllabus. It's giving me a date. Okay, here's September. Here's September when you should be working. The next week, week 2, here's what you should be reading and reviewing, and the assignments and the participation, and that's it. Over capacity, and so on. So you can see that we went from like a very basic input that wasn't really working out. It wasn't really giving me a good result. But then we use AI, well, we use Gemini to improve it, and then we plug it in, and then we got a better response right away. And that was just 2 iterations. So then you can take that one and then see what's working, what's not working, and then do another iteration. And that's what we talked at the beginning, which is you want to be able to have it go back and forth with it, with the tool. So in essence, that is a gem. That is what you will have. And like I said, you can use that for multiple things, and when you build one, you want to be thinking about what is it that I do often that I need help, that I need a companion for, and that is something that you could use it for. I think I have just a little bit of time. I want to show you NotebookLM really quickly. So NotebookLM is another tool that Google has, which I believe you guys might have it as a student. And if you don't, you can always use your regular Google account for you to make notebooks. But here's what NotebookLM helps you, especially when you're taking classes. So I'll show you one that I already made. So this one is for a class that I teach. And this is basically a notebook. Have you guys ever used NotebookLM? Nope? Okay. So think of it as a gem, but it's kind of like already custom built for learning, for a classroom, for classes. So what it has just a place on the left to put files, just like I have here. So here I have, this is actually the slides for a course, and it has all the slides that I have for this chapter, which is like the introduction chapter. And it's like 120 or so slides. So that's the first part. You can put data, but you can have multiple files. So if your professor gives you information in chapters, you can then just go ahead and put all of, like, let's say it gives you a chapter with multiple readings, you can put all those readings in there. Okay, in the middle, it has a chat. So it has a chat just like you will have in a jam, right? So you can say, summarize the content. And it will give you, in essence, a summary of all of the big PDF that you have on the left, which should be a lot. So it's going to try to do its best. The other thing it has that is really cool is this idea of the mind map. So I don't know if you ever build a mind map, but basically these are all the concepts that are coming from that presentation, from those set of slides. And then you can just expand on it. So I want to know about NLP and what it is. So here's the definition, here's the importance, and so on. I want to know about the AI project cycle, and then it's going to give you the information that's coming in there. Okay, so it looks like we also do algorithms. So I want to know what the algorithms are about. I want to know about classification. I already know bag of words, so I want to go into it, and it's going to show you, okay, you have base classifier and SVMs. So it gives you, like, in essence, a map of all the content of that chapter, of everything that you can see in that. It gives you a visual representation. It gives you a map. But then the cool thing about this is that you can then click on one and it'll expand on the content. So if you want to know more about base classifier, then it's going to go back into chat and it's going to pull the information exactly for naive base, which is exactly what you wanted, right? So you can go back and forth and get like a really good map of where the content is. It has a video in the middle, which you can decide how you want to do it. So you can make
Imagine you're
no, sorry, that's okay. So it has a video that you can decide if you want it to be an explainer, if you wanted to concentrate on a portion of the chapter, and it'll give you a 5-minute video with documentation. So I don't know if you can see this.
You know, every single day, you're surrounded by this invisible force. It's constantly reading. That's how many emails, keywords, understand NLP. Your inbox automatically filters out the. So how does it pull that off? It's not magic. It's just processing an incredible amount of data. The system looks at millions of searches every day to find patterns. It sees what's common. Switch gears. What about when you don't want suggestions? You want a direct answer. You need one specific fact from this sea of billions and billions of web pages. This is where question answering systems step in. This diagram.
So it's going to give you like a video lecture of all the content that you put in automatically here. And you can also customize, like, I want to, like, let's say you saw that we just saw naive. So I really want to learn about naive and how it connects to NLP. You put it in there and it'll make you a video based on that. You're limited to 3 videos per day. that is very useful. And it also has this really cool feature that's called flashcards. Oh, I haven't made them. No, I have them right here. So flashcards are really cool because they'll just generate like instant questions for you based on the content. And you can then start trying to get the information from it and then go back and forth. Okay, so this is the question. And then if you click on tab, it'll show you the answer on the back. Okay, so let's say this question: how does machine learning differ from traditional programming? In the traditional programming, you have to do everything, but with machine learning, it'll learn from the context that you have. So let's see if it comes a little bit closer. Okay, specific instructions, adapts from, kind of, right? So now if you need more information or if you got it wrong, and you can keep account of how many you're getting wrong or right. But let's say you go back and I was like, oh, I really need more information of that. Then you click on explain, and in the middle of the chat is going to give you that specific information for that specific question that you may have missed or need more information about. And again, it's pulling all the data from all the content. So again, if you have information from your professors, you can put it all there, right, to pull exactly from the class. And the other thing that it has this really cool infographic. So if you remember the mind map, how the mind map kind of like puts all of the content in one layer, then an infographic will just grab all of that information and put it in a nice graphical way for you to see not just the concepts, but how everything kind of like works together in an infographic way. So again, all of this is kind of like the essential parts of the entire chapter. You can see there that we have the AI project cycle, what data processing is about, tokens, and different general language models, and so on. So again, this is really useful to see kind of like the overall idea of the content in just one view. And then the other thing that it has a podcast. So it basically has a podcast that it makes on the fly. This is what it's mostly known for. If you ever use NotebookLM, this is what people say, oh, NotebookLM does podcast. And that's what most people know what it's about. So I'll just play a little bit of it.
Imagine you're standing on a street corner in Bulgaria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So all of that is like AI generated. And it sounds like there's two people that are
Setting the
actually...
scene.
Right. So you're hungry, you're completely lost,
Yeah.
and you're staring at this street sign that's written entirely in Cyrillic characters, and you don't even begin to know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, a decade ago, that language barrier was basically a
Okay, and it goes on for like 30 minutes. So you can, if you want to listen while you drive, while you walk, you can do that as well. It has the idea of a quiz, so if you want more details about it, you can do a quiz. If you want to have an actual quiz, I guess you could do that. But I mean, it could give you a slide deck if you wanted to, but it's already a slide deck, right? It will just regenerate the exact thing. But if your professor gives you a lot of, let's say it gives you a lot of, let's say just readings, right? Like PDFs to read, then you can do a presentation based on that if you needed that. So that is basically what NotebookLM will do for you. And like I said, it's kind of like a gem, custom-made gem for anything that has to do with learning. Basically, that's what it will do. And it allows you to interact with content in a very fast way. And as far as I know, there are restrictions on how much you can put in there. So, for example, you have like the restriction of the 3 videos per day. But as you can tell, let me see if I can pull mine. You can do a lot of them, right? So these are all the notebooks that I made for different topics. So again, if you are using AI, you will see that it'll just start generating. You'll start generating a lot of these tools, just like with um, gems. You'll generate a lot of gems. Okay, I think that is what I had for the session. But I don't know if we have any questions in there. But I really want to thank you guys for watching this, and I encourage you to, if you want to become proficient, just start experimenting, start using it more, and iterate more with it instead of just doing a single question and answer.
Excellent. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Jonathan, for this wonderful presentation. As he mentioned, folks in the chat, if you have any questions or comments or reactions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll read them out loud so that we can hear it all in the room. I'll give you all a minute or two to do that. We had a question just come in from Jacob. I understand the usefulness, but do you think the personal data we give AI is worth it?
It depends on how much, or like what kind of, you have to be careful about the data that you give it. But you can protect yourself also by anonymizing some of the data. So if you don't tell it who you are, or where you live, or yes, it will create a profile of what you are as a person and your preferences, without being able to 100% track you. And I think the benefits of it is just, again, think of it as, I know it's hard to think of it as a person, but think about it like the way that you interact with people. Some people will let you down, right? Some people, some child will sometimes lie to you, to your face. You have to be able to understand that it's gonna lie, and you have to always keep it in check, and you have to protect yourself not to give out very personal information. Like, don't give it your social security number, don't give it your credit card number, uh, don't give it things that um, could be very personal. And that's why for example, there's like a big craze right now about Claude, um, OpenClaw. I am very hesitant about that. I have not used OpenClaw, because of that, because you have to basically give it access to your browser, give it access to all your credit cards, and then just let it go and explore and do things on its own. And I think that's dangerous. That's very, what I think it is. That is probably where I draw the line. Yeah. Hmm.
Great, thank you.
At
Any
least
other
this is right
questions?
now.
Mm. Well, it looks like we don't have any other questions. Jacob, thank you for asking that. Um, with that being said, I will highlight some of the program updates we have for
Yeah,
Future
for sure.
Tech before we close out this event. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this event, Future Tech Career Conversations take two types. We do skill building workshops as well as career exploration events. Now, on the screen right now is our event for next week, Monday, which is another skill building workshop. This one focusing on resume writing, which will be hosted by our very own Future Tech job developer, Consuelo. So, that will be in this same room, but different time, Monday, 1 to 2 p.m. If you're interested in learning more, you can learn more about this event on Radar Connect. You can come in person or on Zoom. There will also be a Canvas announcement going out day of as a reminder. Now, looking at the internships we currently have open, our current open internship is at Makatawa Technologies. It's based in Holland, and they're looking for a general IT support intern. And pretty soon, we'll be opening another very similar internship with Code on Wheels, which is a Grand Rapids based nonprofit. They are looking for a general IT support intern as well. Both of these opportunities are paid $20 an hour. And if you're interested in learning more, the job descriptions are posted on our Canvas. Now, lastly, if this is your first Future Tech event, we would love it if you could scan the QR code on the top right. That will take you to our interest form. It's just a space for you to drop your email so that we can keep in touch with you about more upcoming Future Tech events and opportunities. And if this is not your first Future Tech event, you know the drill. Please scan the QR code on the bottom right. That'll take you to our attendance form, which gives you a place to say, hey, I was here, and that helps us track to make sure you're reaching your 2-hour monthly engagement goal. And it also gives you a space to say what you hope to see from us in events in the future. As I've been mentioning at our past events, we've also recently launched a digital badging system. So, digital badges are a way for you to showcase the skills you're building in future tech to employers. By attending this event, you can gain our communication level 1 badge, or actually, I think it's professionalism level 1 badge, just for attending a career conversation and taking the initiative to build your skills and increase your exposure to the industry. Within the digital badging form, you can claim the badge you're looking to claim and also learn what it will take to get future badges. But with that being said, that is the last announcement that I have. So, to everyone who joined this event on Zoom, thank you so much for coming and for asking the questions. Thank you so much to Kevin and Adam from our media technologies team for making our video and audio look so great. And last but not least, Jonathan, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for this wonderful workshop.
Thank you.
Great. With that being said, I'm going to close out the Zoom. So thank you all again.